For our project, we're focusing on the earthquake that took place in Japan in 2011. The earthquake took place March of 2011, and it occurred on the northwestern coast of Japan and the Tohoku region on the coast of Honshu. This earthquake was caused by a rupture of the subduction zone associated with the Japan Trench. This trench separates the Eurasian plate from the subducting Pacific plate. This underwater tectonic activity triggered a tsunami. This earthquake struck along a subduction zone where two of Earth's plates collided. In this subduction zone, one plate slides under another into the mantle. The movements of these plates stuck together and built up masses of energy released in an earthquake. The number of individuals identified as dead or missing after the 2011 earthquake in Japan was between 18,500 to 20,000 people. Most of the individuals who died drowned in the waves of the tsunami that followed the earthquake. In the week following the earthquake, authorities were only receiving 10% of the food and supplies they needed for the citizens. In addition, 310,000 people were living in emergency shelters or with relatives, while 24,000 people were left homeless. Although the tsunami following the earthquake was responsible for the majority of deaths and destruction, the earthquake also caused great destruction, including fires, homes completely and partially destroyed, damage to roads and railroads, the loss of electronic power, and issues with water and sewage systems. The earthquake was one of the deadliest that destroyed much of Japan. There were many farmlands, houses, boats, and cars that were destroyed. There were several fires throughout these cities. The buildings destroyed in the earthquake released many ozone-depleting chemicals as well as greenhouse gases into the air. One of the most significant events was the destruction of the Fukushima power plant. This plant stored 6,600 metric tons of gases and equipment that was destroyed during the earthquake. Because of the proximity of the epicenter of the earthquake to major nuclear power plants, they were shut down following the earthquake. However, damage caused by the tsunami caused the generators to fail, which meant the cooling systems were not active. This resulted in high levels of radiation to be released for weeks following the earthquake. This resulted in the contamination of seawater surrounding the area with high levels of radioactive iodine-131. Many zoos and aquariums in Japan were suffering from shortages of gas, food, and drinkable water. They found that there were many habitats destroyed during this. Scientists also noticed that the earthquake affected the ecosystem. While some species were able to benefit from this, others did not. The earthquake caused many species to be exposed to different plants and animals. The tsunami that followed caused many invasive species to be introduced, such as sea stars, oysters, and mussels. The Earth system involved its tectonic plates. The plate tectonics caused a convergent plate boundary, creating a subduction zone. In 2015, a United Nations Forum on Disaster Risk Reduction was held in Sendai, Japan. This forum created new international guidelines that were put in place to reduce the effect that disasters have on society. The Japan tsunami and earthquake paved the way for these regulations. Energy conservation and awareness increased. After the earthquake, people began learning how to conserve energy. People needed each other in times of disaster, which caused an increase in how they valued human relationships. They became more appreciative of their relationships and cultures. The earthquake caused a nuclear power plant meltdown and triggered a nuclear emergency. The nuclear power plant meltdown caused the presence of high levels of radiation that are still present today. After the earthquake in 2011, Japan formed a reconstruction agency that set a 10-year timeline for recovery from the earthquake. In 2016, 5 years after the earthquakes, 174,000 people still remain displaced and out of housing. Before the earthquakes, Japan's scientists predicted there would be an earthquake, but they predicted the size and location of it very incorrectly.